So if you guys been watching, what's up, guys? So today we're getting back to Blazers. Not the little one, but the big one. Now you probably wondered, where in the hell did that thing go? Well, I'll start back to the beginning. You know I got the green 73 K5. Well, I got it, and yeah, it was a little rough, but the price was right. It's the right model. So one day I was sitting chilling, and on the marketplace this came up with a bad motor, and I was like, ooh, I can get this fixed real easy and drive it and maybe get a little bit better truck. Well, and then I was like, I've got the Camaro tore apart because I'm doing some stuff, and I'm going to change the engine because the stock engine wasn't doing good. So what I opted to do is, like, I could just put the engine out of the Camaro in this Blazer and just take off and drive. Not. I have got the green one running, used it, did some work with it, killed the transmission, which is already bad anyways, and it's tore down, and I've rebuilt the axles, changed oh my God, done so much. I have still yet to drive this thing. We have done all the engine stuff, radiator, had a horrible wiring problem, gone through and did what I needed to do to the brakes to get it working, complete fuel system, new fender wells now that we'll be starting on here in a minute. Have not driven this yet. I have done more work bolt to bolt on this than I have the other one, and I've driven the other one more. So be careful, guys. It may look easy. It will bite you in the butt, which it has bitten me right on the bottom of mine. So today, that's exactly what we're going to do. This is the last video I'm making of this, because this is going to be like, will it run? This video will not go until this runs. So when you see the end of this video, we're driving this thing. So here we go. And as I was stating, it's got an engine. It actually was an engine out of a 3/4 ton truck, but I put it in the Camaro because the motor that was in it was locked up. So this is a 4-bolt motor. It had tags on it where it had been rebuilt at some point. Probably the cleanest used 350 I'd ever got my hands on. I cleaned it. That's why it's blue. Painted it to put it in that car. And I drove the car just around here, and I was like, a guy can't have a Camaro with 200 horsepower. That's just not going to work. So I took that car apart, blah, 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 blah. The engine was already out of it. This came up, and this had a like a rod sticking to the side. They got water in it, hydro-locked it. So the engine out of the Camaro went in here. Supposed to be an easy deal, but as you can see, no, it has not been. And this had a really bad wiring problem that I had to put a starter button on it because something in the wiring harness would not do the 12 volts through the harness to the starter to make it work. It's the stupidest problem ever. Eventually, it'll need to be rewired, but we're just going to make it work. And you'll see when I try to start it how it does. It's not that bad. But, yeah, we had to rebleed the brakes on it last night. And now I'm going to put the right fender well in so we can get the battery in it. We're going to hook the battery up. Got to antifreeze it, check the transmission fluid, and we're going to start this thing up and see if it, the transmission works and all that kind of stuff. So super, super close. But right now, because I'm a weirdo, I'm going to go ahead and put this matching wheel back on here because this one had a leak and we got it fixed. So first order of business, put this tire on, and then we're going to take that tire off and start on that fender well. Yowzer, man. So they had all that blue stuff right there. packed around all these edges. Somebody must have gotten in trouble for sending out dented up fender wells because, God almighty, I should have packed a lunch to take that off. That took me 15 minutes to get all that crap off of there. So, that is going to go up in there and stop a bunch of this right here. So, also, we got to have something to put the battery on. So, let's get it. So you can definitely tell this came from West Texas because this truck is solid as a rock. Got really lucky with this one. Luckily, this truck hasn't been abused too much. Only mods I can tell it has is about a 2.5 inch lift and 33 inch tires. The wheel is back on. Passenger side is all buckled in. Look how just beautiful that looks. We went ahead and put the transmission lines on. So now, gonna hop down here. Now it's time for the old battery tray. So we gotta put the brace in. Gotta put that on there. Next order of business. All right, good morning. Gotta make a little run to the scrapyard. Had to clean up around the shop and around my grandpa's. This is looking pretty rough. So I got a whole trailer load of some scrap metal. There's an International Scout 4-cylinder in there too. So let's run to the scrapyard, get this stuff hauled off. I brought my girl with me, Charlie. Since my kiddo's in school, I had to bring my other next best thing. You know, I stopped drinking a while back, you know. I've been through getting a kid, you know, from baby to, you know, where she's at now. Having a wife, a work schedule, all that stuff. You know, it's put some gray hairs on me. And then I stopped partying and drinking and all that kind of stuff, you know. But something's making me want to start. And it's this thing. So I got on it and it caught on fire. There's a wire that ground out somewhere in this harness in the front, I would imagine for the headlights or something. Ground it out as soon as I hooked the cable up, and I smelled something, and then it started just smoking, man. So I got that fixed, got rid of that. I don't even know what it went to. I don't even know if it went to anything. So far, everything still works like the way it should have. But then I have probably put at least 2 quarts of gasoline to that carburetor. It's not picking up any fuel from the fuel tank. Well, when I put the fuel line, hold up. When I was threading this metal line into that, the threads are messed up inside that pump. Well, that's a brand new pump. Well, so far it is not pumping any gas, and this thing has 30 gallons of gas in it. So what I'm going to do, it's not unheard of to have a bad brand new fuel pump. So I have the pump off the motorhome. It's got a shorter canister on it, so I'll have more room, because also that line is pushed against the frame. I'm thinking maybe that could be a problem. But anyways, with this inlet here being messed up on the one that's in it, I'm just going to go ahead and put this old one, because I'm pretty sure this isn't the problem with the motorhome, and this is a good one still. So we're going to put an older one on there to get it to work, and then see if we can get this thing to pumping some gas, because the motor fires up. It'll run, but it's just not getting any gas. So that's what I'm working on now. I'm going to change this fuel pump. You got to be kidding me. So I took the supply line off the bottom of the fuel pump, and gas is just running out of it. So that tells me it sucked it up to the pump. Well, it turns out there was a restriction. So guys, it just gets better and better. So it will start and run, but for some reason with the timing I've got in it, and mind you, now this was in a car that ran and worked before. What did I do with that light? It was in a car that ran and worked perfectly. We take the engine out of the car, we put it in this vehicle, and it just snowballs and falls apart. So it's not it acts like it's too slow or too fast in time, but where the distributor is, where I've got it clocked, and I've checked it before we put it in, something's not right. So I've rigged up a starter button because I'm by myself. Let's see if this thing will start. See what I mean? Something's not right. Okay. So guys, this thing is not going to start. So I'm just gonna let you look at something under here is why it's making that noise. The starter broke. Never had that problem before, but I'll show you what was wrong with it. So it is blowing
In addition
oil.
to the real problem, we
See
now
where
have
that
a nasty oil leak coming
gray
from the
silicone
front of
is
the oil
probably
pan.
right there. It's just shooting a stream of oil out right there. So I think I'm gonna pull the engine back out.
So if you guys been watching, this head didn't turn out to be exactly what I was thinking. So yesterday, well not yesterday, a couple days ago, I was working on this, got it started up, got it running, sounded really good. It smoked a little bit, you know, and that's because this engine's set a while. I think maybe the valve seals need to get hot and swell up, you know, and it'll stop. But let it run for a while, man. It's looking promising. Everything was working out pretty good. Well, I shut it down, made some more, you know, looked at a few other things. Now, mind you, this came out of a 79 Camaro that I had in here that was a 2-pump fire up, ready to go. This thing ran great. Had no problems. Well, I pulled it out of that car because I removed the subframe to finish welding on the floors and all that. Well, then I came across this, and this is only supposed to be, oh, it needs a motor, it'll be ready to go. But turns out this has had more hands in it, jacking with the wiring, than what I can imagine. So, you know, in the effort to buy something that had little rust, it's turned into an absolute complete mechanical nightmare. I would almost rather have a good working vehicle with rust than mess with this crap. So anyways, make a short story long, fired it back up, and it cranked like it's supposed to, and then it acted like it kicked back against itself. And so I let off the starter and I hit it again. It tried to crank, and then it kicked back, and it kind of popped through the carburetor. And I was like, acts like it's too slow. But I looked at the timing, it's not too slow. So I slowed it down just a scotch, tried to crank it again, and pow, started just spinning. And I was like, what in the crap? So let me show you what happened.
So good news, starter's broken, but that's not what I'm worried about. We've got starters. The block is not broken, it's not damaged, so that's a good thing. So now we're gonna move on to pulling the front of the engine off and checking timing on everything. Rolling the motor over by hand, and it could be, maybe there's something bound up in that transmission, I don't know. Again, this is definitely some odd problem. So all right, so I've got everything off. We have piston number 1 all the way top dead center. Okay, we have this mark right on the 0. Our keyway is faced about the 2 o'clock position, so that tells me it's on top dead center. So this is just an old cap. I always put number 1 right here. You can put it there. I've heard that's where they want to put it. You put it where you want. You could actually put number 1 back here and you could fire this off number 1 wherever the rotor bug is in conjunction with these points. You can put it anywhere you want. I put it there. So right on the money, okay? But one thing I did notice, I'm gonna remove that cap, is that advance is way back there. Well, when it was wanting to run, it's about a ½ inch more forward. I'm suspicioning maybe I've got it a tooth too slow, but here's the thing, why it's been a tooth too slow for the last 4 or 5 years. It was like that when it was in the other car. Why is it now starting to act up? And that's where I'm gonna pull the balancer and I'm gonna pull the timing chain cover, because also it's blowing oil out of this spot right here like crazy. Never had that happen either. So we're just gonna fix it. We're gonna loosen the oil pan, drop it down, pull the timing chain cover off, and we're gonna confirm the cam timing on it, which I've never done on this motor. This is the week for car issues. So I jumped in the motorhome, fired it up, let it warm up, took off, jammed down the brake. All that was working was the front brakes, and the brake light and the dash came on. And man, most of the weight is over the rear axle in this thing. So as I was going backwards, it was like just dragging the front tire. So immediately, and the pedals just going to the floor. I knew something was up. To get you guys up to speed, I ended up getting the flu, got sidetracked, got another project, back on this. Found out the cam timing was just where it needed to be. It was just right, but the biggest problem was the oil leak and also the flywheel off the old Blazer motor I put on this one, and turns out that flywheel was garbage. The flywheel and the starter were not meshing correctly together and caused it to bind up and break the nose cone off the starter. So here we are. Our timing chain is on, or cover, I'm sorry. Oil pan's bolted back up. That's all the way it should be. Our next move is to put the harmonic balancer on. So there it is right there. I've got it ready. If you don't have one of these tools right here, you are, man, I used to drive them on with the wood block and the hammer, but that's so hard on your thrust washer surfaces and actually just the force driving through the bearing. This actually threads all the way into the snout of the crank. And what I like about this, I know everybody wants to take the bolt that holds the balancer on and try to turn the engine, but the problem is with those is they don't thread, they don't bottom out in the crank. And what I like to do, I like to buy that ARP bolt and put in there, and that way it threads all the way in and locks out. Now, if it threads all the way in, then you can turn it. But the problem is, let me grab this here. And I don't know why GM does this. About only that much of that bolt is actually going into that crankshaft when it should basically be the whole length of the bolt, basically. And the ARP bolt's about 1/4 to 1/2 inch, maybe even 3/4 of an inch if I was correct. If I remember right, longer to hold the balancer on. So these only thread that far. So on those stuck motors, when you're going to try to, let's put a breakover on the front of the crank and stuff, that's about all the threads you got going into the crank when, truth be told, this bolt will go way down in there and everything. If you can at all, I would definitely suggest buying one of these harmonic balancer installers. I bought this one years and years ago, and it just makes it so much easier to install this without taking a wood block and a hammer and just beating it on there. It's really hard on the thrust surface and the bearings. So yeah, definitely, I don't know what I paid for it, but it's a good tool. Okay, so we've got most of the front dress stuff on, the water pump, all that good stuff. But now we're going to go to the culprit of why this engine had to come back out in the first place. Look at that flywheel, the way it's just marred up. Look at all those little pieces hanging off of it. This flywheel is junk. I should have put a new one in when we started. We've got our new starts, we got the replacement starter, so let's go ahead and get this crap pulled off. So this engine has always had a manual transmission, so it's had the standard flywheel on it. Well, this is the first time being that this thing had a 4-speed on it. We're putting in something with an automatic, so I decided to reuse the old automatic flywheel and didn't change it, and here we are. All right, guys, I'm going to conduct an experiment here because I don't trust any of this stuff. New flywheel, new starter. Let's see if it spins this motor over. Now, I've looked to make sure I don't have anything that gets sucked down in it. No, I think I'm good. Let's see what it does. That's quiet. Okay, and our engagement, I'm so glad we did this. Because look here. You can see the teeth. They're engaged pretty decently. I'd like it a little bit deeper. But man, we got lucky on that one. All right, now that we're done playing with engines on the floor,
It's time to get this engine back in the truck, hopefully for the last time, and get this thing on the road and get down to business. We got a lot of adventuring to do, and it's going to be a good time. Did I also mention that square bodies are really, really ugly without their grill in there? So please remind me to get that back in before we drive.
All right, guys. I was going to record this thing fired up, moving under its own power. Well, for some reason it wouldn't start. Mind you, it started on the floor, but turns out the ignition wire that I've got coming from the fuse box that was working is now dead for some reason. So it gives you an idea of the wiring issues with this thing. So I jumped that across, boom, fired up. It's the best this thing sounded. Well, then found out the transmission, I checked that was low. So I filled that up, kind of overfilled it, so I had that problem. But I drop it in gear, nothing. That's why I usually like to jack the rear of them up and let them kind of turn on their own, because I think it gets a little air in it. Well, dude, it took off. No brakes. Holy crap. So if you noticed, I've made it right here. This is as far as I made it, because I don't have any brakes. They're barely holding. So, but it moves under its own power. Reverse, drive, the power steering. It needs some power steering fluid in, needs some more antifreeze, but it starts, it runs, it moves. So let's try to attempt to get it back in front of the garage. And as I stated, we're a little low on antifreeze. We got too damn much transmission fluid in it, but this is the best this thing, it sounds just like it did now when it was in that Camaro. So let's go ahead and hook up our ignition wire, because that's the first thing I'm going to tackle. Just try to get the fuse box to work and have it where I can use the key to start it. So I'm using the back of the alternator right now because it's 12 volt hot with the key on. So let's just jump in. But so far it feels like it works so decent. Okay. Boom. Okay. I think it's flipped just a scotch, but here we go. Oh, there we go. I got a scotch of brakes, not very much. Feels like it moves pretty good. That's about all the brakes I got. So we'll be going neutral drive, neutral drive. Let's see if I can get this bad boy turned around. Please nobody run into me. All right. All right, we're gonna put it in neutral because we're coasting. It's a bad thing about my yard, it's downhill. So yeah, that's not fun. Get this mirror kicked out. Caught on. Okay. Hot diggity dog, man, this is kick ass. Okay, neutral. We got some brakes. I might have to do some bleeding on it, but man, it's charging good. Oil pressure's up there. I always knew this thing had good oil pressure. Ooh, yeah, a little bit of brakes. We're getting there, we're getting there. Yeah, I've got some bugs to work out, but gosh, dang, are we moving, finally. Okay. See, I've got it hot wired. Oh man, we're blowing antifreeze everywhere. Crap. See what I mean? Now I'm leaking antifreeze. It's always something with these dang things. So until we get some antifreeze, I think I'm gonna pull one of those transmission cooler lines off and let it pump a little bit of the fluid out, and just try to get this thing lined out. Welcome to another wonderful morning. Back on it. So let me show you what I got. So you remember how when I was trying to start it, the distributor wasn't getting 12 volts of power to the coil. So what I figured out, and I don't know, that's another problem when it takes you a year to do something. You get started on something, you get on something else. So this starter switch cranks the engine. So what I did, instead of that being on its own circuit off of the battery or the fuse block out there, what do you call that? Fuse strip, whatever. I had it running off the ignition side of that for some reason. I think I was testing it and I forgot that I had it that way. So what I did is I put the starter circuit on its own circuit. It is not part of the fuse block anymore. What was happening is when I was cranking this, it was pulling the voltage out of this fuse block so low that it wasn't able to supply a correct amount of 12 volts to the distributor. So what I did, I isolated that circuit. It is no longer a part of this fuse block, and I went ahead and did what I do to all of them. I ran a single 12 volt wire that's keyed off of the fuse block. So now, if you look here, we're going to turn the key on as it should be. Runs. So that now is correct. So now we can turn the key off, shuts the car off, and now we have power. So got that problem fixed. So that was kind of my fault. And again, like I said, I've been working on this for like a year and a half. I'll work on it and then get sidetracked and pulled off on something else, and then come back to it a month later and you forget kind of what you did. So that's kind of part of doing these old cars like this, is that it's just a learning experience. So, but yeah, the next move, I want to hook up the heater hoses, and I need some more antifreeze. I keep saying I'm going to go to the store, but I haven't done it yet. I'm trying to think of what else. I need a fitting for the brake booster to go in the back of the carburetor. I'm trying to think of what else. I need to take this thing down the road. Oh, I got to bleed the brakes too. So, one step at a time. Got some free labor tonight.
It's hard to push.
Yeah, when I started driving it, it was really loud, but it quietened down after a while. So,
I don't doubt it.
but it's digging a groove in it.
Yeah.
So that's what the sparks are for. So let's put the wheel on.
All right.
Good morning, guys. This is the moment I have been waiting on. It is time to get the K5 Blazer out and drive it. I've got it all up and going. Matt came over last night and we worked on a few things. The wheels were rubbing on the caliper brackets, so we had to grind those down and re-bleed the brakes and stuff. But all in all, we took it probably on about a 10-mile run last night and done well. So I want to show you guys today what a running K5 looks like. So let's get some stuff moved around. Let's get the Monte Carlo rolled out, and we're going to take this for a spin. can I say, man? From the moment I found this rig on Marketplace till, well, I found out it had a broken motor when I bought it, but to that point till now, it's been a long journey, man. There's been quite a few little projects come and go. Quite a few things have gotten in the way, kind of set it to the side, but now the payoff is real, man. Yes, we have driven it a little bit. Yes, a Camaro had to die to donate its engine to get this going, but it's worth it, man. This thing's going to be able to be used for so many different adventures. Already, it has been driving really good. I think I've got about probably 15, 20 miles on it. Started off with the front wheels. These aluminum wheels are rubbing on the caliper brackets, and if you see earlier, me and Matt, we ground those down, got the wheels to fit right, put the hood on, rebled the brakes. The brakes are still iffy. I don't have the brake booster hooked up because I don't have the fitting for the back of the carburetor yet, so there's that. But yeah, it shifts good. I am so pleased with how well this truck drives. It is unbelievable how this thing, it just rolls so smooth, way better than what I thought. And actually the engine is doing a lot better. It had the valve covers were leaking, but the more I've drove it, you know, all that stuff's tightening up and everything. If you can tell, I don't have any front shocks on it yet. I got to get a set of front shocks. Like I said, hook up the brake booster, just do some little stuff, put that left fender well in. But I mean, as you can tell, this thing cruises good. So yeah, 373s, turbo 350, just your standard 350 engine, I think is the ultimate package for something like this. You'll be able to work on it, keep it on the road. But yeah, already just from what I've driven, this is a lot smoother than my Green Blazer is. But my Green Blazer just has 2 seats and no interior in it. So I was going to keep that pretty bare bones, but now that this thing with all the insides in it, it's pretty quiet, pretty smooth. But my goodness, I am so happy with this rig. It's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. But yeah, I'm ready to get this thing out, do some adventuring, do all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I hope you guys like this rig. Like I said, I'm sorry it's been drawn out so long, but man, when you work a full-time job, you got a family, you got a couple different places to take care of and stuff, storms, this, that, and the other, seeing other project cars and stuff to buy, you know. I mean, sometimes you'll find a little bit easier projects and this gets pushed to the side, but all in all, it was worth the wait, and it's driving damn good. So yeah, let's put a few more miles on it, shake a few more things down, and see how this thing does. I'm ready to get it on the highway. So there it is, guys. It's back and running. The 73K5 or 76K5 is going down the road. It runs 65 down the highway really well. Starts, runs, and drives. I can't ask for any more out of this rig. It's definitely in way better shape than the other one, but man, it's so comfortable to drive. So I really think that it's going to turn out really, really well. So if you guys like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button, do the like, and yeah, this thing's going to be pretty rad. So I appreciate it, guys. It's been a long road, it's been a fight, so but yeah, let the adventures begin. Thanks, guys.